Welcome back, fellow sawheads. So this is the second instalment of my Husqvarna 2100 CD rebuild. Now this tank had been absolutely pounded by mag rot when I first got it. It's had a lot of work done on it. But here's just a short clip of how it was back in the day. As you can see, there's quite a lot of corrosion going on, and in fact this tank was leaking at the bottom along this seam here. It's glued together with some sort of epoxy, so I've separated the two halves. Like so, I put it in the oven for half an hour at 150 degrees Celsius, and that was enough to soften the epoxy, and the two halves could just be pulled apart. As you can see, there's quite a lot of corrosion going on in there, and this is why it's been leaking. Just here, the corrosion's got in all around the seal. So we're going to have to give this a good clean up, and then we can glue the two halves back together. So this is the inside. This is the oil reservoir. Feed pipe for the manual oil pump runs here. Manual oil pump actually runs through the fuel tank here. This is the other half, slightly less interesting, but there it is. So I vapor blasted all of the magnesium components to get rid of all the corrosion and nastiness. I used one of these cheap online vapor blasting attachments for a pressure washer. This is the business end. Worked very well to get rid of the corrosion and clean up the mag very well. Makes a huge mess though. So I did all of the components, and at that stage things got a lot worse with the tank, because there are actually quite a few holes in it. And now no one in their right mind would try to repair such a tank, but I'm not in my right mind, so I filled all the holes using JB Weld, filled all the pits, smoothed them out. But from my tests, I don't know if this is genuine, it's off eBay, but it isn't really fuel proof. But JB Weld seems to stick quite well to magnesium. It's not easy to get things to stick to magnesium. I think the electrons are the wrong shape or something, so it's not easy. But anyway, moving on. The reason I fitted the pump first is because I needed to use a tank sealer, and in both of the tanks, the gas tank and the oil tank, and you can see here this red colour, this now has a sealer in, and the one I used is this, I'm going to fit it in here, this Fertan Tapox stuff. It's 2-part epoxy thing, and who knows how long it'll last, or how resistant against fuel it will be. Here's some I sprayed onto, this is off an XL12. I just vapor blasted an area here of magnesium, and this, so it seems to stick quite well to the magnesium. It's not peeling off So that seems good, and I'm hoping that will protect the inside of the tank from the fuel, but this is a bit of an experiment. And the paint that I've used is a 2-part epoxy paint, which again claims to be fuel resistant. It's this stuff here. It does tend to go off in the can. I had a few dodgy cans come through. Seems quite nice paint, goes on nicely. I did need to use a white undercoat to really bring the orange out, but it's quite a nice finish, and it's a hard paint. It's quite durable, but again, I don't know how well it will stick to the magnesium over time. This isn't particularly going to be a shelf queen. I want to be taking this out and cutting wood up with it, but it won't be a daily driver. In terms of colour, the colour I used was this RAL 2004 Pure Orange, and if we look at the flywheel side mag casting, you can see a bit of mag rot that I didn't bother filling here, you know, just as sort of a bit of evidence on the inside. But this here is the original powder coat finish from Husqvarna themselves, which I didn't take off. I just masked this whole area, and the colour match is, well, it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. It's close enough. So with all that waffle out of the way, let's get on with installing the valve assembly for the manual oil pump. And the components here consist of this sort of valve body, I suppose you'd call it, cover plate, two duckbill valves, check valves, which only allow oil to pass in one direction, pickup pipe, pickup filter, plastic thing, a washer. I'm not sure if this is actually original Husqvarna, but it was installed and it looks kosher, so that can go back in. And finally an O-ring. The operation is really very simple. I've drawn a bit of a diagram to show how. So we have an oil tank here, obviously, and we have a check valve here which only allows oil to flow out of the tank. This is actually a duckbill valve. Here it is. Then we have our plunger here, then another check valve which only allows oil to flow in this direction. So when the plunger goes up, it draws oil out of the tank and into the space below the plunger, and then when the plunger is depressed, pushes oil. It can only flow this way, and it goes out to the oil feed hole. I'm not entirely happy about the state of this pickup pipe rubber piece. It's gone a bit funny inside, and I think the reason for that is that it's a bit of a tight fit in this hole here, and it's kind of got squashed up, and I've tried to sort of straighten it out, but it's not playing ball. But anyway, I'm going to shove it all back together and see if it works without leaks. And the idea is this plastic piece here fits in there, and then duckbill valve goes on top like that. But anyway, let's put it back together. So we have the pickup filter, which goes on the end. We drop this into the tank. Rob has a bend on it. That's going to point towards the front of the chainsaw because that's where the oil tank is. So we'll pop that in there like that. And then on this block, this valve goes in there. And this O-ring kind of fits in there. So the oil goes through the first duckbill valve up through this tube and out here. This lines up with the hole for the plunger itself, and also then it comes out here and that lines up with this hole here, and the other duckbill valve fits in there, and then that hole joins up with the internal feed pipe which runs inside the oil tank, comes out at this spigot here, and it goes off via a rubber pipe to the oil feed hole for the chain and the bar. So that's all ready to put back together. I'm not entirely convinced that it's going to seal properly. I have put many layers of paint on here which may affect the sealing. This is kind of pretty much flush, and it's designed to just seal against this surface. But anyway, I'm going to put it back together and then pressure test things to see if they're doing what they should. So to stop this lock falling out, oh, I forgot this washer. Should go on here like that, but I'm going to pop it in. Down here. See that? Yeah, that's kind of in there. Here we go. All right. That'll squash down. I've got to go and fetch the screws. Right, got some screws. Right, that's in there. So now it's time to see if it's going to perform as desired and without leaks. Well, the oil tank isn't really going to hold much pressure with this big hole in it here. Now this is the outlet for the automatic oil pump, and again it's same deal. We have pickup filter and this pickup pipe which screws into the aforementioned orifice. There's a screw thread and an O-ring on here. So again, that picks up oil and feeds via this pipe to the auto oil pump. I'm going to get this installed first, so again a simple procedure. Pop the pickup pipe on, that's a nice fit there, and then pop it in. This requires a 15mm spanner. See if that's getting there. Yeah, that's squished down the O-ring nicely. This pipe is in approximately the right, pointing in approximately the right direction. Here's the crankcase half and the two oil lines. So the lower one is the inlet to the auto oil pump, and when these are approximately like that, that should line up nicely. Well, extrapolating from the progress that we've made in today's video, I'd say it's touch and go whether this project is finished before the heat death of the universe. However, we shall continue. But given how long this video is getting, I shall leave pressure testing the oil tank and this valve system for the next video. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll leave you with some footage of a yellow toaster.